The Enneagram is a system at its most, I guess, shallow personality, right? So 9 descriptors of personality, your coping mechanisms, your motivations in life. It's also a system of growth and understanding how you can grow beyond that coping mechanism or those motivations, how you can become more aware of what drives you and how you can grow beyond those autopilot patterns and into the highest self, your highest self.
What's up? What's up? What's up? Welcome to the AlignUs podcast, a transformative journey into the world of wellness and philanthropy. I'm your host, Dr. Nikhil Sharma, and I'm so grateful to have you guys here with us today. Why don't we jump right into it? Today's episode is on the Enneagram Head Types, and today we're going to be joined by 2 special guests. We have Miss Melinda Olen, who is a licensed marriage and family therapist, founder of Invitera Counseling, and co-founder of Havenly Counseling Collective. And then next to her, we have Miss Joanne Kim, an Enneagram therapist at AlignUs Counseling and feelings translator at Intelligent Emotions. Welcome, guys. Glad to have you guys back with us on the AlignUs podcast. Thank you for being here.
Glad to be here.
Glad to be here.
All right. Well, look, it's a pleasure to have both of you guys here again today. And, why don't we dive right into, the head types, which are, types 5, 6, and 7. What is the head type, the triad? Or I guess other times we hear about these triads as centers of intelligence, but, breaking down, there's the head triad, there's the heart triad, and then there's the body or gut triad. And so each one has its own special, I guess, emotion that's attached to it and their own themes, I would say. And so can we provide a overview of, what the head triad is commonly known for or known about and really each type?
Sure. Yeah.
I'll take this.
I'll take part of it.
Go for it.
Okay. So the head triad usually engages the world via their thoughts, via the head, right? So if we talk about centers of intelligence, it is focused right up here, right on the head space. And so they tend to engage the world via just knowledge, thoughts, prefrontal cortex-y type things. They're also, the head triad is also the fear triad. And so you'll find themes of engaging with fear in every type 5, 6, and 7. So.
Yeah. When we think about intelligence, we think about things that head types tend to prefer, and head types tend to assume that this is just how the world is supposed to be. And a lot of different countries orient their culture to value these things, reason, intellect, things that are measurable, the scientific approach, all that kind of stuff. But the disadvantage of head types is in forgetting that the other centers, like the heart and the body, also exist. So head types tend to overly rely on their dominant modes of being to the point where they paint themselves into a corner, often around things related to safety, security, possessions. Head types tend to believe in the lie, I am what I have. So trying to gather ways for them to feel like they're okay, gather experiences, gather knowledge, prepare, make sure to be connected with certain people, etc., all as a means of trying to gain safety for oneself.
Yeah, security is a really big theme for the head triad.
Yeah, I think you named every quality that I embody because I am a part of the head type, and yes, I'm a type 7. So again, it's just so cool to hear other people talk about you. Like when you start hearing things that you resonate with, I'm still just get that awe, and I'm like, yeah, that's right. Yeah, that I do need. I do look for security, and make sure I'm always in good position, and and it's just a really cool thing to be learning more about yourself. So yeah. The fear that we do have is, we're kind of always thinking, about the future, and I find myself doing that very often. And that's where a lot of my fear kind of comes into play, at times. So I try to make my existence, currently, as good as it possibly can. So to really avoid that fear, in a way.
Yeah.
So maybe we can talk about each type, starting off with the type 5s and how do they show up, You know, when it comes to understanding fear as a common theme.
Yeah, you're up at that.
So I feel like fives, and this is a running theory, I could be wrong, but I feel like fives often exist in conflict with fear. Even though fives are, you know, they are the headiest, I think, headiest of the head types, right? When you think head type, I think you think stereotypically a five. They are often in the sciences, they are, or math, or things that are very heady, and tend to cut themselves off from emotion and from the body, and from action. They are the thinkers of the thinking triad. And so, um, in terms of their fear, right? Like they collect knowledge in order to control their fear, in order to find
Nice.
security, in order to find, to bend against fear,
Right.
of the world being overtaken. Right. And so I love the metaphor you have about the ivory tower and the fortress, right? Because, well, you should say that because I think it's really good. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like fives kind of lock themselves in, sequestering themselves away from the world,
Yes.
and basically cutting off supply to ample resources that they too have access to, but they're living as if all that's inside their fortress is all that's available.
Absolutely.
And so
yeah.
that leads to a lot of hoarding and a lot of stinginess, a lot of rationing out, thinking in a very minimalist way. How can I get by on the least amount possible?
Right.
Forgetting that the world is still, well available to them, but it's like the fear of abundance, which is kind of counterintuitive for all the other types. And I think even for fives, they might not even register that they have this fear. In their head, it makes a lot of sense.
Yes. Yeah.
So that's kind of the tricky part, and even recognizing that fives are kind of based in the fear triad.
Right. And so I think they also have this fear of being overtaken. And I think if you were to ask any five if they were scared of being overwhelmed, running out of energy, feeling depleted, not knowing something that they should know about, they would definitely say, yeah, like that's not something that I feel great about, right? Yes, that is something I'm scared of. My husband is a five. And so when I suggested the challenge for that we'll get to eventually, to him, he was like, nope. There's no way. That sounds
it's
like
uncomfortable. That's
hell
where the
on a
uncomfortable
stick.
comes in.
and he is a fairly he's a fairly more developed five, but I think that a lot of fives do feel that fear of being overtaken, overwhelmed, not having enough. They have to make sure they have enough energy allocated over time in order to survive and have that security, which is why I find a lot of fives, like, they hate spontaneity, they hate surprises, they have a very difficult time, like, if somebody else is controlling their day, because how am I going to allocate what I need over that amount of time if I don't know what's going to happen?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
I think fives tend to see other people as parasites or invaders.
Yeah.
Parasites.
Yeah. That, like, another person, even if it's like their partner or like close family member, it's like, how much is this person going to take from me, or how much energy do I need to expend dealing with this?
Yes.
And so like how that shows up in like the non-personal relationship arena, like at work, is that fives are overly compartmentalized in being super private. And so people at work might not have any idea of what the five experience over the weekend, because that's one of the ways that the five enhances a sense of safety and security by closing any access for anyone else to get to know them.
Right. Yeah. What's so sad, what I find pretty sad about five, that fear and that closing off, really prevents them from something they deeply want. And some fives might be more in touch with this than others, but connection. I think that fives isolate, but they're aware of their loneliness. And I think sometimes they feel like they're on the outside of humanity with their nose pressed up against the glass, looking in and wishing that they could be a part of it, but then terrified that they're going to get taken over or overwhelmed, or people are going to take take energy away from them. And so it's such a conflictual experience.
Fives are one of the types that are more prone to depression because of it. But depression in that sense is not it's a byproduct of their own ego in not being connected or not allowing themselves to be connected. That's more accurate.
Okay. All right. Now, what about type sixes and how they show up with fear?
Well, so I think that sixes are typically the type that overdoes fear. So the stereotypical six is very anxious, right? They are worst case scenarioing life. So if something's going to happen, like an event or something going on in the future, they could probably give you 15 ways that it'll go wrong. Or more. I'm probably underestimating. And how to maybe make sure those things don't happen. So they are in constant hypervigilance. Joanne used a term called not PTSD, but
not post-traumatic stress disorder, but
pre-traumatic stress disorder. So so it's like that constant hypervigilance and anticipation of something going wrong. And that is how they create security. One of the ways that they create security in the world. One of the ways that I think they look out and think that everything is unstable, nothing is safe, nothing is okay. And then when they look inward, they find the same thing. So you'll find themes of sixes having a hard time trusting even themselves, their own inner voice, their own courage, their own gut, like the things that they believe, right? Like they're constantly questioning themselves. And so when you don't find security outside and you don't find security inside, of course you're going to try to use your brain to make sure that you have everything in mind so things feel stable. But internally, sixes feel anything but stable and secure.
I mean, I think, you resonated with me a little bit when you were talking about, sometimes we're not trusting our instinctual, what our gut is telling us or what our instincts are, telling us. And I think a lot of that has to do with how our instincts are repressed at a young age, by our parents when we try to come with them to the problem. And then they, basically dismiss that issue, whether it's like so-and-so is, maybe is bullying me at school or whatever have you maybe, and they come off with, it's not that big of a deal, or man up, right? And I think at a young age, right, we are, at least, in our generation, that was very commonly at least said to us, or at least said to me, and what happens is that just teaches you not to trust your own instincts as you get older, that what your body is feeling isn't necessarily true, right? And so that can become very damaging, in our relationships and how we interact with the world. If we're not able to trust what our body and mind is telling us, then a lot, can go wrong. And so I feel like the important thing that, to take away here is, when you're on this journey, it's like you're able to clue into yourself. And then that's not just into what your personality is, it's into your mind, it's into your body. That, it tells us what feels good, it's telling us what feels wrong. Naturally, our body has like these sympathetic and parasympathetic, receptors, it's our fight or flight. And we need to be more cognizant and more balanced of how we receive those messages and understand, hey, this doesn't seem right. I need to do something about this. Or this feeling of being in a relationship, there's just something in the pit of my stomach that feels it's not okay. Like I'm not being validated. I know something's wrong, but oftentimes we don't do anything about that, right? Like, or we let it linger. And then 1 year turns into 3 years and you're in these codependent relationships. And I'm just talking about a lot of experiences I've been in, and it's just not having sometimes the strength, to move forward, or having the tools. And that's what waking up and learning about yourself can empower you to do, is that it gives you that strength because you know more about yourself and what feels good, so.
The key word for sixes is, three keywords: power, strength, authority. So they basically are, one and the same in a lot of ways, in that sixes disconnect from their own authority and power to make effective change, and they project it outwards towards someone or something else. It might be another person, it might be towards codes or establishments, rules, etc. It might be in connection with other people. But in doing so, there's a power vacuum that gets created. When sixes are so questioning of their own internals and their own values, who they are, what they want, etc., then it creates a space where anyone who's power hungry can come in, and then the six often overly trusting in some cases.
Yeah.
And so, like, I mean, kind of an extreme example would be Nazi Germany. Well, there was so much reliance on rules and orders as a survival mechanism, like post the
World
wars.
War I, yeah.
And when someone with a very charismatic, power wielding person came in, sixes were like, yep, that's the person I want to follow, kind of as a way of not owning their own ability to make their own decisions, exercise their wisdom, etc. So this can happen in professional arenas where the employee is constantly questioning whether or not they can do things, and so they don't go for promotion opportunities, or they often dampen their own ability, even though they're the most trustworthy person. Or the most capable and competent person. And so it's kind of kicking the authority away to someone else to step in.
Yeah.
And then blaming them if something goes wrong.
Right. Right. Very conflictual relationship with power and authority, and and having a difficult time having confidence, right? Confidence in themselves and what they can do and what they can accomplish, and moving forward, and courage, which is, what we hope that as a six does their journey, they move into trusting themselves and courageously moving forward,
even though they feel fear.
Even that is courage, right? Courage is moving forward,
right?
Even though you feel afraid. Fear, in some ways, is a really healthy emotion.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be something that we have.
If we didn't have fear, we could potentially die. We'd be dead, right? It's like something, bear's coming at me, and if I'm just standing there, and I'm not feeling any fear, then you're dead.
Right? And so, but moving through understanding, I have something valuable, I have something to contribute, how I feel matters, and I have conviction internally to bring that forth. Sixes are so freaking powerful when they've done their work. Oh my God. And we've seen so many beautifully developed sixes in our journey. And it's so cool. I'd love to, and fives too. I love to talk about that, what people are aiming toward when they do this work. I think it's so important. And I think fives become so beautifully energetic and wanting to connect and open-hearted, soft-hearted. It's, I see Oranio, a very developed five, and one of our teachers, and he just you see him shift intentionally to every different type when we're at one of his workshops. And he'll come to a heart type and he'll immediately shift and be like, hello, how are you? Connecting on this emotional level, and he's just so open. And that's kind of what development along the Enneagram path can open for us. And we start to look very different than our coping. So
for more resources on the Enneagram and to have access to our AlignUs blog, to have more insight on today's podcast, please visit us at www.alignusworld.com, and make sure you follow us on our social media platforms on TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram at the handle @AlignUsWorld. And make sure to energetically donate to our YouTube channel by hitting the like and subscribe button. That'd be greatly appreciated. And remember that as a large collective of positive energy, we can help awaken each other to live our best life. Now back to the podcast. And then the last head type, type 7. Yeah. How does fear show up in their regards?
I would say that in the way that 5s have a complicated relationship with fear, 6s overdo fear, 7s underly fear.
They kick it out the window. I don't think they even recognize it exists. They're like,
oh, that's too much negative vibes. Like, we're not
good vibes only.
Good vibes only. Like, that T-shirt just resonates with me so much. Good vibes only.
I hate good vibes only.
And so, of the head type, probably take more energy to recognize that they're driven by fear. Yeah. But how that shows up is in things like wanting to make sure to not commit to any plans for fear of being trapped or missing out on a really awesome opportunity, or like being scared of being trapped in responsibilities for commitment or boredom, like things that seem more grown up, like we don't want to do that. So it's kind of like the Peter Pan syndrome. Being forever young and youthful, and the fear in the 7 drives 7s to seek experiences, opportunities, anything that's exciting, as a way of trying to outpace fear.
Mm-hmm. They're very action-oriented type.
They are the doers of the thinking triad.
Right. So 5s are the thinkers of the thinking triad, and 6s are the feelers of the thinking triad. Then 7s are the doers of the thinking triad. Yeah. Let's get stuff done.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so the key operative word for 7s is what could happen. So it's about opportunities or possibilities. It's like 7s get so much of a hit in thinking about on an intellectual level of the experience, but when they actually get to the experience, it's like, I mean, I already had the fun stuff up front when I thought about what could happen.
I'm thinking about the next thing now.
We're just gonna skip along. It's the ideating. It's like, that's so intriguing. Yes. And so definitely that's kind of where the head type piece shows up. Yes. Even though, like, in some ways they might sometimes like look like another type.
Yeah. I mean, I think 7s are like idea. This idea.
We definitely have a lot of ideas, that's for sure. Like, there's no doubt about it. Like, that used to be called like the idea guy, and and that's the thing. But you're right. There's too many ideas, obviously, that start going into our head, and we end up not doing any of those ideas. A lot of times, and that leads to a lot of resentment for us or disappointment.
Like 7s as leaders might like come up with a lot of high, like really awesome ideas. And in terms of figuring out the nitty-gritty stuff, they like kick it on to like their coworkers. And then the 7 like CEO has already moved on to the next thing, and everyone else is like, we were working on this project like that you wanted us to start, and then you're like completely somewhere else. And that can create a lot of
tension with 7 like leaders.
I'll give a great example of how, when I found out that I was a 7, and when I realized what I did, one of the things that 7s do when they're not healthy is that they take on too many projects and too many ideas all at the same time. And we never finished up any of those ideas. We would get excited and then, this looks good enough. And it would be like 60% done and then move on to something else. But then that 40% that's not finished or wasn't finished the way we would like, it lingers like in my brain. And so the first thing I remember being taught about how an action plan to set in was like, Nick, why don't, when you do your laundry that day, you should do the laundry, then fold your clothes after the laundry, and then put them back into your drawer, because a lot of times I would just do the laundry, keep it in the dryer for a day, 2-3 days, and then I would come back to it when I could. But it was this small implementation of starting if I'm going to start this laundry today, meaning I better have enough time throughout the day today to be able to finish it off, because otherwise don't start that project. And so it's simple action plans like that for the people that are listening, that being aware of your personality type can allow you to do. It's not like something you have to do that's so taking this giant leap. For me, it was something as simple as just starting a task and then making sure whatever that task was for the day, that I was going to finish it that day. And it's incredible how that one task, that one action has set off my whole changing my habits in the way I show up every single day. That if we don't need to accomplish 100 things today, I just need to accomplish one thing today that's going to help me push for my bigger goal. So, yeah.
Great. In fact, even just having one thing, like that's such a huge growth step for a 7, right? Like one thing today, right? Like the passion for 7 is gluttony. And so it's like, I just want more. I want more, many of the things, right? So yeah, like self-limitation and following through, though 7 might hear that and think, what
is that?
Right.
We don't do that here.
Yeah, I get a little allergic reaction when I hear self-limitation.
Right. So, that's where you know you're on the right track.
That's right. Yeah, right. That's so funny.
So that's such a great example of a growth exercise for a 7, right? So
yeah. What about any growth exercises for 5s and 6s so that they can maybe?
Yes. Oh, well, I mean, we definitely have some that we have prepared for our peer listeners.
You know, you're welcome. We're sorry. Like,
yeah, so okay. Sorry. Yeah, you will be okay. It will be hard, but you will persevere. Just a disclaimer. It's a disclaimer, though. If you and you hate it, then
guys,
it's a good sign.
It is. I'm trying to get people to get it. Like it's you know, it's okay if you're feeling a little uncomfortable. You know, it's just hang out there a little bit and find your pack of people that are a little bit uncomfortable. I mean, we're feeling a little uncomfortable right now. Hopefully, people that are also in the comment section and that are, you know, that are there, you're gonna find new people, and that's the joy I feel of this journey, is just the new experiences that you'll have, and all of them are coming from an authentic place inside of you, that you have made these changes, and now the universe will bring you back experiences that initially may be a little tough. There's turbulence in this journey, right? But then there's like this rainbow and nice open, getting out of the tunnel, and you see some clear skies. They will be there, and you'll be able to do the things that you always have wanted to do. But it's about putting in that work. And so that's why we're here.
Absolutely. And so just a quick note for those listening, if you decide, and I hope you do, to take on one of these challenges, depending on your type, just remember, like, as you're observing yourself doing these challenges, take note of how you feel, your feelings, your thoughts, your reactions, your sensations, without judgment. Right. I really want to emphasize that. Like, some types are more judgmental of self than other types are. But speaking from experience, that self-critic and that shame or that self-criticism can really get in the way of your growth. So I just really want to encourage everybody, as they're doing this journey of inner work, to look on yourself with non-judgment. And I say that to myself as much as anybody here, because it really can arrest our growth. Yeah. So yeah, we hope that these exercises and challenges are both vomit inducing in the best possible way. And
the one thing I also want to throw in there, what you just said is so true, so beautiful. And it's like what I've realized is that we are all going through the same experiences in life. And I feel like we are often looking at social media and thinking that someone's, you know, because they're living in some mansion and they're posting a picture about it, that they're not experiencing the same ups and downs in life that you're experiencing. And that's not true at all. We are literally all going through the same exact adversities, the same exact, good times and bad times. We're all in this big collective. It's like a huge human conscious that I feel we're all connected in. And when we remove race and everything, it's just we are one big conscience, and when you realize that, yes, we may have started with different playing hands, right? We may have all started with a different set of playing cards, but it's up to us in this life to maximize our potential by discovering who we are at a core. Because when you realize who you are and you understand your values, your character strengths, your personality type, only from that point and that foundation can you really make concrete movement forward and lift the veil that's in front of you and see things how they really are. And most importantly, not to judge yourself, because what you have gone through, I promise you, people around you, it's just that a lot of us are not vulnerable to each other. But if you sit down and talk to somebody, they will be like, you know what? I went through that too. You know what? My mom passed away at this age. My dad also, it's been really hard for me. You know, it was hard. Something happened. I was traumatized as a young kid. I saw something I shouldn't have seen. You know, it's really beautiful. We're just all in the same experience, you know, and I think once people can try to let that soak in a little bit, you'll be more empowered to want to start changing and using the word just improving. You know, it's really just trying to improve your own experience and your whole human experience.
Yeah, I like to think about it as raising awareness, both on behalf of yourself and then the people around you. That automatically happens, right?
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful journey and hard journey that we're called to, but it's important.
All right. Well, let's see what challenges you guys have cooked up for us today.
Oh, I'm so excited. Okay. All right.
Married to a 5, so he's been waiting for this all.
Oh yeah, but I don't know if he's gonna do
I'm
it,
excited
so.
for my challenge. Yeah, for sure. So yeah, so start with 5.
What
What do we have with 5?
Well, definitely. This is great. Okay, so 5s.
Yeah.
So 5s, make an appointment to do some body work. So 5s are typically out of touch with their bodies and their emotions. And usually they find a way in by focusing on one or another. And typically I've found that 5s tend to have an easier time focusing on body than they do on feelings. So yeah, make an appointment for a massage, a float tank, yoga, do some rigorous, energetic exercise that requires like quick responses, like tennis, or football, racquetball with other people. Not go running, because you'll zone out in your head if you go running. Do not do that. No.
You see how good this personal journey stuff can be? We're asking you to do massages, you know, like it's some beautiful stuff, right?
And just in the moment that you're doing whatever you choose, just tune into how your body is feeling. Tune into the energy that can come when you allow your body to move, and see how you feel. See how you feel, the sensations that come up. So that's the challenge for 5s.
All right. What about the challenge for 6s?
6s, I would say a lot of it is about re-owning their power and their authority. And so a lot of that shows up in decision making or lack thereof. Analysis paralysis, procrastination, perfectionism, all of those are manifestations of a 6 not taking action on behalf of themselves. And then they can justify that by like saying, like, I need more time, I need to do more research, like I'm not sure if it's gonna be okay, and all that stuff. So you can do all those things, that's okay, you can worry, but first set a time limit up front as to how much you will allow yourself to do that. And when that timer goes off, you give yourself 15 minutes, make a decision and do all the research you can. But when that timer goes off, you have to make a call. No going back.
No going back.
Keep moving forward.
Yep. Okay.
Love that.
And then
love that.
For 7s, Nick. Okay.
I'm ready.
You ready?
Yeah.
Pick 3 meals. Breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or however you allocate meals, if it's 6 meals or whatever you do. Pick those meals and eat the same thing every day for a week.
Okay, so you're saying eat the same breakfast I have, eat the same lunch I have, and the same dinner for a week.
And see what comes up for you as you commit. So 7s, again, you're eating, if we think about gluttony, right? Yeah. Like 7s want to experience every good thing, right? So it's like that can show up in food, that can show up in dreams, right? Like sobriety is actually a really important thing, yeah, for sevens. Not necessarily abstaining from alcohol all the time, but abstaining
from whatever it gives you that hit.
Exactly. So we're going to kind of
Uh,
experiment with food in that
Yeah.
regard for the challenge for the sevens. So
So the extra credit is having someone else pick your meals, and then you're stuck with that. But
all right.
oh, that reaction tells me that you should do that next.
I should do that probably. Yeah. This is
You
good.
get
I like this challenge.
freedom in choosing what you will have for your meals, but once you decide, that's what you're sticking with. So it's like
Okay.
as a way of practicing the follow through all the way to the end.
All the way to the end of the week.
And noticing what reactions come up when you start getting bored.
Because we'll start to get bored.
You're like,
Yes, I like this challenge. I'm excited. I'm kind of already processing which meal is it gonna be, like where am I gonna get it from? You know what I mean? Like that's the kind of stuff that's going through my
Like,
head right
oh,
now.
no.
Like I gotta make sure it's gotta be good. It's gotta be something
Ways
that's
that you try to
delicious.
rationalize.
I
The ways
am.
you try to rationalize your meal so it's as variety focused as possible so that you can get doing this challenge.
That's right, and I'm excited about doing it. And certainly for everyone that ends up doing the challenge, please let us know down in the comment section what came up for you. How did you feel? Were you able to kind of follow through with it? Even if you can start it, right? That's the best. At least you're trying. Give yourself a lot of compassion. For those, just check back with us on a daily basis. Let us know how that challenge is going. And again, we're so grateful to have Melinda and Joanne with us today, and throughout this series. And hopefully everyone listening has learned something about themselves. And I think this whole Enneagram series, it's again, we all embody some parts of each thing that it's involved with, and it's about balance. I think at the end of the day, when we find ourselves doing too much of one thing, and we need to kind of try to be a little bit more self-aware, and then scale back and listen to others, or try something just a little bit different. Thank you for tuning into the AlignUs podcast, where we inspire a world of wellness and philanthropy. For more resources and to stay connected to AlignUs and the AlignUs app release, please visit our website at www.alignusworld.com. And make sure to follow our social media pages on Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Twitter, and YouTube with the handle at AlignUsWorld. And make sure to check out Melinda's Instagram at Invatera Counseling, as well as her website, www.invateracounseling.com, as well as Joanne Kim's Instagram at OliveMeCounseling, and her website, www.olivemecounseling.com, for more great services that will help you on your personal growth journey. Until we meet again, make sure to stay aligned, stay connected, and stay anchored into the power of unconditional love. Namaste.